So my name's Rebecca and I was a pupil at Preston Lodge from 2007 until 2013. I was in Seaton and my Reggie class was in Home Economics. So when I left school I went to the University of Edinburgh and I studied for an undergraduate degree in law, and that lasted 4 years, and I graduated with a 2-1. And then after that I did a postgraduate degree in that. So in a lecture you'll probably be in a big room with lots of other people on your course, so maybe 100 people, if your course is quite big. If it's smaller, maybe 50. And in a lecture you'll have a professor or one of your course teachers talking to you for maybe 50 minutes, an hour on a particular topic, and you'll have to take notes as they speak. So it's less of a sort of two-way conversation and more of you listening to them about a particular subject. A tutorial is more like your normal classroom. So you will have your tutor at the front of the room, and they'll have asked you before your tutorial to maybe read a book, or read a chapter of a book, or answer some questions and prepare some answers. And you'll have more of a discussion, so you'll have your tutor leading it and there'll be other people in your class, maybe 10 or 15 people, and you'll go through all the work you prepared. So that's a really good opportunity to ask any questions that you might have off the back of the lecture. And then finally you've got a lab. Now, I didn't personally do any labs, but as far as I'm aware, a lab is like a tutorial, but it's more practical. So perhaps you're doing computing, or you might be doing, chemistry, and again, you'll be in that small environment like a tutorial, but you'll be doing maybe experiments or more research-based work. Absolutely. A lot of people when they go to university are scared to ask questions because it does feel different to school, but asking questions is a way that you learn. So if you don't understand something, then yes, of course, ask. You might want to email the tutor or the professor, or you might want to maybe note down your questions after a class or a lecture and take it along to the next class. I think a good skill at university is to try and look for an answer, maybe before you ask the question. You might be able to find it in a book or online, or just by chatting to your friends. But don't be afraid to ask. That's what you're there for. You're there to learn. So most universities will have big libraries that will, as well as lots of books, they'll also have computers. And these computers can be accessed just like a school computer using a username and a password. And that way you can access all the course materials and use sort of online books and things like that without having to have a laptop. I did actually have a laptop when I went to university. That was because I found it easier to type my notes. So as much as you don't need one, it might be something that you might think about saving up for if you find it easier to type your notes electronically. So that is actually quite a hard question because I think it really depends on which course you're studying, but also which university you're at. Everyone does things slightly differently. But I do think quite a good way to think about university is as if it is like school, or as if it's like a full-time job. So in your head, if you can get into the habit of being in the library for 9 o'clock and maybe staying on campus until 4 o'clock until you need your tea, then it gives you lots of time to make sure you're preparing for your classes, you're reading all the things that you should be reading, or you're doing all the work that you're meant to be doing. And by treating it like school and trying to be there Monday to Friday, say 9 till 5, it means your weekends are free. So that allows you to continue to see your friends and family at the weekends, or you might have clubs, or you might have a part-time job. It is possible, but again, it depends on the course you're studying. So for me, I worked a part-time job, a weekend job all throughout university because I was able to balance my time quite well. But for some courses, you might have placements that run over the weekends, or you might have placements that are during the week, and then you have to do coursework at the weekends. So it definitely is possible. I managed to do it, but it's just making sure that you give yourself enough time to rest, and you also make sure you've got enough time left to study. A lot of people that I know who weren't able to have a part-time job made sure that during summer they worked straight from finishing up uni in sort of the June time all the way through until September time, and that gave them those savings that will allow them to enjoy university throughout the year. So a society is like a club, and there are more societies at most universities than you could ever imagine. And at the beginning of the year, there will be some sort of societies fair or information that will go out to new students that will say, these are all the different societies that you might like to join. So they can be anything from the boxing society to the card making society, or from the ice skating society to the wine and cheese society. There is genuinely, at most universities, a society for everything. They're a great way to meet people who aren't on your course, but they're also a great way to learn new skills and sort of build up your CV. It's a great thing to get involved in. And I would absolutely recommend, when you start university, finding out what societies there are that you might be interested in. So Freshers Week is kind of like sixth year induction. So you have a week where there's lots of activities on. Now this year things might be a little bit different. Some of the activities might be online or held remotely, but I imagine it'll still all be about getting to know one another, getting to know university, and learning about what opportunities there are. So my top tip would be to look out for opportunities and to sign up for things. There will be so many things happening while you're at university, whether that's opportunities through societies, joining sports clubs, you might be able to become a class representative, you might be able to help organise, a social event for your whole year. There is so much you can get involved in that'll cost you little or nothing. There's also lots of really cool opportunities to maybe write essays that you could be awarded a prize for in your own time. There's loads of opportunities to go to meet companies and go to talks by experts in your field. And of course there's opportunities to travel at most universities, whether that's for a short time or for a longer period. While I was at university, as I said, I stayed at home, but I was still able to travel to Canada. I was still able to travel to London. I travelled to America. I went to events with some of the biggest law firms in the world. I heard expert lawyers talk about, amazing pieces of law and pieces of research. I was part of a craft society, which is probably not that cool, but it was still fun. I enjoyed it. I played my flute in a band. There's so much, and there will be something that will be perfect for you, but you won't know unless you sign up. So if in doubt, take a pen, say yes. If you decide you don't want to do it, you can always say no thank you, but I guarantee you that you will regret not signing up to things more than you will signing up to them.